you know what to do. It's time for the Terrible Twos.
Bottom line.
Everybody
I'm
calls
back
it the
now,
Terrible
so
Twos.
I'm making sure that everybody knows this is called the bottom line. And you'll see if you look at the, when we cut this out as its own little segment, you'll see the title says the bottom line on the Book of Boba Fett.
I like that people that are watching us for the first time hate what we just did. They're like, that was so weird. I don't know. I'm uncomfortable. But the people that have watched us a bunch of times also hate it, but for different reasons.
There's Brian and Mike back at their old antics.
They're just like, why don't they let it? Nobody thinks it's funny, you guys. That's what makes it funny. So
and even us on the show with you are uncomfortable with it too. So
it's like a commercial break.
Oh, thank goodness.
Okay, so it's the final two questions of this show, the two most important questions, and they're terrible. Here we go. Question number one, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg. What would you give this first episode of the Book of Boba Fett entitled Chapter 1, yet when you watch it, it says Stranger in a Strange Land?
It's Chapter 1, Stranger in a Strange Land. Chapter 1, the name of Chapter 1 in Stranger in a Strange Land.
I'm just saying, when I put on Disney Plus, it just said Chapter 1. It didn't say that that other title, but then when I push play, then the title popped up. So it's very confusing. I'm knocking at a lot of points, but no spoilers.
Okay. So what was your question? What would I give it on a scale of 1 to 10?
Same as the other 95 times.
I would give this show on a scale of 1 to 10. Let's just go ahead and give it an 8.9.
Whoa, dude. Whoa.
It was really good. It was not as strong as the first episode as The Mandalorian, which is what, of course, everybody's comparing this to, because it's hard not to, because this is the new era of Star Wars television shows that was started with The Mandalorian, but it was still very, very good. Very, very, very good.
Wow. Jennifer McGee, what would you give it on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, the first time I saw it, I gave it a 7. But the second time I saw it, feeling better, I'm gonna give it an 8.
You're an 8.
So when you have COVID, you like it a little less, but when you're over it, you like it a little bit more. So
I think that it might also just be that, like a lot of things, when you watch the first episode of something, it takes you a while to get used to the style and all the things. And then when you watch the second time, it's like an old familiar buddy too.
And you pick up things that you might have missed the first time. So
well, Scott, scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it? And how many times did you watch it?
Pressure's on.
I watched it twice.
Wow.
And I give it an 8.6666666666.
Oh.
We're only putting
I've
four
given that
sixes.
same score one time. Yeah.
It's infinity sixes. It keeps going.
6.
Yeah.
So like 2/3 exactly.
8 and 2/3. Yes, that's right. 8 and 2/3. Yep. I thought it was damn good, and I think the only thing is just like you are kind of comparing it to the Mandalorian, and the Mandalorian was so darn good, and I think also, because the Mandalorian is like the first of these new shows and everything, it was like, this is a whole new thing, this is a whole new deal, and kapow, it comes out and just like smacks you right in the kisser. And this one, it's just like a continuation of it, and it didn't have as much of that wow factor, though it was so totally solid and enjoyable, and really nothing bad to say about it, just like wanting more of things,
Michael, I think the score you gave was 4 after the decimal point, but it was supernatural 8.8888.
888. Yeah. Very close.
Yeah, very close. You guys are practically best friends now. Jesus. So anyway, on a scale of 1 to 10.
Wait, let me ask you this, Ryan.
Yes.
Each of us watched it twice. How many times did you watch it?
Almost once. I got tired. I got tired after it was like 17 minutes. So no, I watched it one times only so far. So It was good. I enjoyed it. I was never bored at any point. I watched it late last night. I was like, what do I want to, because sometimes you got to watch a couple shows for these recordings. And I was like, okay, I want to choose the one that is a nice, fun, watch it at 1 a.m. kind of thing, because it's going to be enjoyable. And it was enjoyable, and I did enjoy it. And I wanted to give it immediately a 7.5, okay, because it's good and it's fun and it's enjoyable, but there was nothing in, outside of the Star Wars realm. Somebody that's never watched Star Wars, doesn't care about Star Wars. Are they really going to think this is that great? Not really, but it was good. And it's one of those shows that when I look back on it, I enjoyed a little bit more. So I'm going to give it a 7.8. And one final point to make on this.
8.1.
One final point to make on this. I think the style in which they write this, where it's kind of goes on in two time frames, and he's calling it "The Dreams Are Back," which is a great way to explain it, because sometimes people don't even give you that. They're just saying, now we're in the past, now we're in the future. That's just what they do. This time, they're dreams. Okay, that's cool. That's just a little bit more to make it, a little bit more cohesive. But I think that that's going to be their writing style going forward. We're just going to follow these two eras, these two time frames forever. And these questions that are going to come up in the past will get answered in the future. And questions that will come up in the future will be answered in the past. And so I'm assuming that that's just going to be their writing style throughout the entire show. And if that's the case, this is one of those shows where after having watched the entire season or 2 seasons or whatever, you look back at the first episode and realize it was actually better than you thought. Like, for example, Game of Thrones, when you watch that for the first time, that first episode, somebody said, what would you give that on a scale of 1 to 10? You'd be like, I don't know, fucking 5 or 6. There were so many characters. It was weird, whatever. After watching the whole series, you go back, you watch that first episode, you're like, oh, that's so fucking good. That's like a 9. Oh, I loved it.
I've never
it's great.
seen Game of Thrones.
Well, you should.
Ever.
But so I do think that this is something that has the potential to go up to an 8.5, probably, after having watched everything and then revisiting. But anyway, that's where I am now, as a 7.8. But that's what we give it on a scale of 1 to 10. Question number 2 is, for the purposes of this podcast, we all had to watch the first episode of the Book of Mormon, aka the Book of Boba Fett. But now that the podcast is over and we're free to move about the internet, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, would you watch the second episode?
What would I watch of the second episode? I would watch the second episode, is what it is. I have already watched the second episode. And by the time this episode of WTF airs, I will have watched the third episode probably too. So
this is live.
This is live.
Yeah. What?
It's not live. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I watched the first one twice. I watched it once with my wife, and then I watched the second episode, and then I went back and watched the first one again to review it, and I liked it. I agree that the second episode is better. The second episode is directed by Jon Favreau as well as written by, and it's a good episode. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. If you haven't seen the first, watch that first before you watch the second episode, and then continue on to the second episode.
Okay, Michael, if this show isn't live right now, how come I can look at the chat right now and tell you that War Dogheim said, what? This isn't live. And then, and just below that, Medallion said, are you sure? I know that it's live. So I can, anyway, tell them, guys. Jen.
And Rico Anderson says, yo, Rico here.
Yeah.
Rico,
give me some of them.
Rico doesn't always show up.
Give me some of
Rico
them.
doesn't
Got
always
that
show up in
already.
live
Got
chats.
that already. Like a little
stance. Yeah. Jen, would you watch the second episode?
Normally, I would have already watched it, but I didn't yet purposely. But I am going to watch the second, probably right after this.
Nice. Very nice.
To watch it.
Okay.
Yeah. That
Makes
is
sense.
all.
Scott, you'd watch the second, right?
I would, and I did. Just like Michael Ken Rosenberg, I watched the first episode like right when it dropped, and then because I knew that we were going to do the show, I wanted to watch it a second time to reboot my memory on what I had seen. And then since the second episode was already up, I was like, well, I might as well just keep watching and watch the second episode.
Might as well.
Those of you that had seen the second episode, did you like it as much or more than the first?
More.
Yeah, it does. It does get better.
It's better. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But not
My Star
the
Wars
first
friend
episode
said it. He was like, I'm very happy they didn't disappoint. So.
Well, knowing that it gets better almost convinces me to watch the second episode. That's kind of why I wanted to know, because I was kind of probably not, but no, definitely I'll watch the second because it was enjoyable and we should do more things that we enjoy and hey, fuck it. Hey. Right.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was good. It made me feel good. It made me feel like somebody likes the same thing I like, except that person is writing it and I'm enjoying it. But that's it.
The winds of Ryan's whims blew in the direction of him wanting to watch it the second episode this time. There's been many times when he has enjoyed the first episode, but things like, nah, I don't. There's nothing's like compelling me to watch it. I don't need to watch it. I don't want to watch more fun things that I enjoy. Nah. But this time it did.
Do it.
Thank you,
stay
Star
tuned.
Wars.
Stay tuned for next week when I do exactly that.
We'll see if he actually does it.
Anyway, I think that's about it for us, right, guys? That was a fun time. So if you'd like us to review a show and say how great it is or how terrible it is, or if you want us to review a horrible show and just watch us squirm and know that we hated it the whole way, just say WTF in the comments below with whatever the show is you want us to see. Don't say WTF
Sex in the City.
Thundercats. WTF Sex in the City.
An excuse to watch Sex in the City.
Sex and the City, I believe it is, not in the city.
Yeah.
Sex in and the city and.
And be sure to like and subscribe, please. We appreciate those. Welcome Michael Kenyon Rosenberg back. Say nice things to him and he'll say nice things back. And thank you, Jen. Thank you, Scott. Remember what Mr. Michael Kenyon Rosenberg always likes to
don't
say.
forget to tell us what to watch. Tell us WTF, Hot in Cleveland, or WTF, The Golden Palace. So a couple Betty White shows. She just recently passed. Sex in and WTF, Sex in and the City and WTF, Megadeth shirt show. WTF, Chester Cheetah show. Chester Cheetah does Star Wars.
Yeah, that's our buddy Vic for president.
Yeah.
And now, don't forget what Michael Kenyon Rosenberg always says, which is don't forget to register to be an organ donor on donatelifeamerica.com. You just go to donatelife.com. And then you can, when you die, you're not going to use your organs. So they can go to other people that can use them, like me. Like I just got this new kidney, Cornelius. His name is Cornelius. I don't know what the donor's name was, but the kidney, his name is Cornelius. And he's with me now, down right here in my belly. And other people can get kidneys and lungs and hearts and livers and pituitary glands or whatever you don't need because you're going to be dead. But
I want teeth.
After you do that, after you go and register to be an organ donor, don't forget to watch the first of things.
All right, now is the time that we do the freeze frame, you guys.
We don't do
everybody point to an organ that you want from somebody else.
I want Wilt Chamberlain's penis.